Fabulous. Paul Caiola, I am so excited to have you here with me.
I'm so excited to be here. When we decided on this topic, it was like a little sunbeam came into the room because I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yeah, Paul, I felt the same way. I have such an emotional connection with this show and this actress that I feel like it's kismet.
Uh-huh.
It's kismet for us to be having this conversation. Uh,
Absolutely.
I feel like for listeners that may not be as familiar with Patti LuPone, first of all, how dare you?
Hmm. Yeah.
But maybe we should
Get your life
get your
together.
fucking shit together.
Come on.
Yeah. D- do we need to yell at you the way Patti LuPone would? You know,
Maybe we should we try that? Maybe that's what the culture actually needs. More people yelling at them about Patti LuPone as if they were Patti LuPone.
I don't totally disagree with that premise.
Yeah. I think it could do well.
So, like, where to even begin with this icon? I mean, I guess we begin with Evita, right?
I mean, it's the place to start as far as I know.
So, I'm guessing I'm gonna make the wild assumption, Paul, that you're a musical theater person, first of all, right?
I am indeed a musical theater person. When I was in high school, I fell in love with musical theater. I When I was a budding homosexual, I discovered the Patti LuPone 1987 Lincoln Center cast revival of Anything Goes,
Mm.
and that was the beginning of my journey with her.
For me,
And honestly, it's been directly uphill right to heaven
that's
since
right.
then.
That's right. I mean, there's really only one Patti LuPone, and thank God for maybe several reasons. But
Yeah.
I feel like with Evita, because I'm a huge musical nerd too, and I think I'm also a 90s baby, and I think Andrew Lloyd Webber gets sort of dismissed sometimes as being like a little bit overly commercial or overly simplistic
Sure.
as a musical theater writer, and maybe rightfully so.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, but it cannot be denied that people love his works, and I have to tell you, like my first Broadway musical ever was Cats,
Mm,
which even when I was like 7, I was like that was weird.
yes.
But then I saw that I don't know if you heard about the recent
Yeah.
revival that was set in the ballroom, and let me tell you, Tess, I like sat down and that music started and I started crying, like legitimately like teared up. So he hit something.
That's right. And I actually did an entire episode of this show about cats because it is such a
Oh,
mystery, such a shit show, such an abomination, and such a masterpiece all at once.
incredible. Yes. It contains multitudes.
Like human beings, cats contain
Yeah.
multitudes.
Was it Mungo Jerry or Rumple Teaser? We'll never know.
Exactly. And the family said it might have been both.
It might have been.
But yeah, so Patty with Evita, I think Evita actually is like a really smart show. Andrew Lloyd Webber is known for creating these very melodic, kind of like earworm show tunes, right? Like I think when people think
Hmm.
of musicals, they're kind of thinking of Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. Like Phantom of the Opera, of course,
Yeah.
was just such a cultural touchstone that I think that most people associate him with that. But Evita, Patti LuPone apparently beat out Meryl Streep to play the role of Eva Perón,
Yeah.
and it's kind.
And Anne Margaret, I think, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
you're right, and Anne Margaret. And it's like, it is. It's not a one woman show at all. The man who plays Che Guevara is the narrator, and he has a really big role
Hmm.
vocally, but it kind of feels like a one woman show.
Oh yeah, it's about her. It's about that person. No one else in everyone else in the musical is just revolving around that one character. She's on stage for 90% of it,
Yeah.
and it's exhausting. Patty will be the first to tell you the role is exhausting.
Yeah, she feels, and in doing a little digging for this episode, I was surprised to learn that she feels that she was never given due credit for her role next. I always think that we give her so much credit for that role.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very vocal about feeling like the Broadway community doesn't give her the credit she deserves. And I'm like, Patty, you have 3 Tonys. Like, you've gotten a lot of, look, you're wonderful. I'm not mad at you getting more credit, but like, no credit. I don't know if we can really support that.
Exactly, exactly. And so like she's just this like everything you want from like a diva. Like she
That,
and it's perfect for the role of Eva Perón, right?
yeah, absolutely. The way she, I think almost more than any other Broadway star right now, or even movie star, does not care about like the press or how she just says exactly what's on her mind. It's like her and Dakota Johnson
Mm-hmm.
are the only two people that will just, nope, I think Madonna's a movie killer, and I'm not, and I think I'm right. And I'm not changing it.
Exactly.
And it's so like charming because it's very real. Like I feel like I don't know Patti LuPone, but I have a decent idea of who Patti LuPone is.
Exactly. She's so candid, and it's like I love people that have the talent to back up their
Yes.
sometimes obnoxious behavior, and like I feel like we get to live vicariously in their shoes. Like we sort of all wish that we could not give a fuck what other people thought about us in the way that Patti LuPone seems to.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because when I think about it, I was thinking about this yesterday in preparation for this interview because I was like, what is it about Patty that makes her unique, right? Like, because there's a bunch of divas that I, as a gay man, respond to and love, but there is something special about each one of them. But what is special about Patty? And it's that sense of like confidence in her own talent that, yes, I've won 3 Tonys and I still actually deserve more credit. I still deserve more, honor in this world for everything that I do. And then you see her on stage and she just blows the roof off the place and it's incredible.
It's true. I have to say, my only the only time I've seen Patty in person was like
Okay.
was it 2 summers ago that the company revival was in New York?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my husband works in sports and he was nominated for some like sports award. And so we flew to New York for that. And it was going to be this dinner where tickets were like $1,000 a head. And I was like,
Sure.
yeah, we could get a ticket for me to go with you to that. Or we could save money and I could just get a second row ticket to see Company alone.
Yeah. And we would both be so much happier.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's it. I love that your husband supported you in that.
Thank you.
Can I tell you 2 stories about the company revival? Really quick.
Yes.
So, the company revival, it was still full mask protocol, right? When you go to see Company.
Yeah.
And the opening announcement is, please make sure you're wearing your masks. Ms. LuPone can see you. And I was like, to be the kind of performer where a producer will hire you and then essentially use you like the shark in Jaws to intimidate people into behaving. What a dream.
And it worked, right? And I think it just really showed the collective chuckle in the audience after that announcement was made. It just showed the love and the understanding that we have for who Patti LuPone is as a force of nature.
100%. And then, so I think it was our first or second show back that my husband and I went back to the theater after COVID and everything. And we actually got seats in the very front row of the orchestra, which we never do, because we didn't want anyone in front of us, because we wanted to have to feel like we were further away from all the germs. I don't know, it made no sense.
Right.
But that was the mental state we were in. So I was sitting in the front row on the side, and I don't even remember the dream sequence where Patty has to come across stage and she pretends to urinate. Mm-hmm. Tess, she made eye contact with me dead on while she pretended to urinate.
Oh my God. While she pretended to urinate.
It was one of the greatest moments of my entire life.
I get it. Yeah, no, it does. It feels, in the company production, she made eye contact with me because I was in the second row during Ladies Who Lunch.
Oh.
And I cried that night. Like, I literally, it was such a moving experience having someone so talented stare into my soul while bearing her own soul. Like, because that song, I mean, that could be a whole other podcast, but
yeah,
she's just that kind of a performer, I guess, is our point. Like, it's like,
absolutely.
It's one of those people that just makes you there's something about her that you can only really capture live. Like, you can watch videos of her, but like she's just like a tour de force on stage.
She fills the space, and like it makes sense because I remember that she was trained as an actress. She was not trained as a musical theater performer. She was just she calls herself an actress who can sing. And so she was trained on like Ibsen and Mamet and like deep diving into scripts and stuff, and the way she can act a song is incredible. I mean, it's like right up there with Audra McDonald and like the great song interpreters of our time.
That's to me is the number one priority I have, like in a musical theater performer, is someone who's willing to say fuck the note, and then hopefully you have the voice to where you say fuck the note, and then
Yeah,
it still blows us all away. But
of course, right.
I think that's the only way that you can really resonate with someone, is to really prioritize like bringing the humanity onto the stage in that way.
Hmm.
Which is all to say, okay, so in the early '80s, Patti LuPone stars in Evita, and this Andrew Lloyd Webber had already made Jesus Christ Superstar, so he was like already
Hmm.
like a household name. But Evita is really what cements Ale Dubs as like the
Yeah,
guy, right?
absolutely. And she comes in, she gets the part, and apparently has a completely miserable time the entire time performing it. She wins the Tony,
Okay.
but she hates the whole thing, which is just incredible. I mean, look, I don't doubt the veracity of the experience. Just because a good production is put up doesn't mean everyone's having fun doing it. But like, it's for her to say that and to own it and to be firm about it. Like, no, this is my truth. Evita was a terrible experience. Is really interesting.
Now, was she saying that it was a terrible experience working with Andrew Lloyd Webber, or just the toll this part kind of took on her?
I think it was both. I mean, from my knowledge of it, she's talked about like the way the part sits in her vocal range. It's right on the break of her voice.
Okay.
So it was a really really tough sing. And then she's also pointed out that in future productions he's lowered the key for people. Like he lowered the key for Madonna when Madonna did the movie, and Patty was not thrilled that she was not offered the same the same honor.
Patty can be a little catty, which we'll be talking.
She a little catty patty. We love a catty patty here.
Absolutely. So, regardless of whether or not she had a good time, like Evita is this huge success, right? And it really makes her
Yeah.
a household name too. And then Andrew Lloyd Webber makes a couple other. I think after that we have Starlight Express, either before or after that, which is a musical on roller skates.
Uh-huh.
Sh-
It's about trains.
It's about trains, sure.
It's I think it's been playing in Germany since the 80s, and one of my dreams is to go to Germany and see this musical because I think if you take drugs and go to see it, you may transcend.
Yeah, like we don't really need fucking Elon Musk for so many reasons, but maybe first of which is that we could just go to Germany, take drugs, and see Starlight Express and go to space.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You can be in orbit in like 15 minutes. No problem.
Exactly. So then like I think Cats comes after that, then Phantom of the Opera, which ends up being like one of the longest running shows of all time and is like
Yeah.
this huge commercial success. Then Andrew Lloyd Webber has a show called Aspects of Love, which I know nothing about. I think that's kind of a
I know. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I know nothing about it.
whatever. Then we have
Mhm.
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
Paul, where does Sunset Boulevard originate?
Well, it comes from the 1950, I believe, Billy Wilder movie, which is genuinely one of the greatest films I believe that's ever been made. We did it on our podcast, and we kind of refer to ourselves as boulevarding a lot now because we'll just start talking about Sunset Boulevard, and then we say we can't. We have to get. We did 2 hours on Sunset Boulevard. We have to move on, but it's one of the greatest noirs. It features a performance from Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond that should be written in the firmament as one of the greatest performances on film ever, I think. And it is this bizarre, weird film noir that is gripping and funny and weird from start to finish and dark, and it makes such a beautiful point about aging and Hollywood, and they wanted to make a musical of it for a long time, and I believe Billy Wilder told Stephen Sondheim, you can't make a musical of Sunset Boulevard because you have to make an opera of Sunset Boulevard if you want to make a stage production of it. You can't make a musical of it because that's how big the emotions are.
Wow.
So Stephen Sondheim was like, "Oh, okay, never mind. I'll do something else." And Andrew Lloyd Webber was like, I'll pick up that cue."
I'll take that assignment. Now my head is just reeling because I am thinking about how operatic, especially the Norma Desmond songs, are in this musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this character. By the way, it cracked my face when I realized wasn't Gloria Swanson like 40 in the movie.
Yeah, she is, I believe, canonically 42 or something like that.
Like, oh my god.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and she is treated as a withered old crone the entire time. Like there's actually, it's interesting though, because there's one line in the movie from Joe, the other lead, where he says there's nothing tragic about being 40 as long as you're not pretending to be 20. Because in the movie, she's just like, no, I'm going to go play Salome. Like, that's the big thing. She's going to play 17-year-old Salome in a movie, and she's 40. And of course, that would be silly, even now, right? Like,
Right.
that's a lot to ask. And it has a lot to say about that. And there's moments in the movie where Gloria Swanson goes to the studio, and she meets these old directors, and she meets Cecil B. DeMille, and it's actually Cecil B. DeMille, and he's really kind to her because he says, like she was abandoned by the industry. She had the gall to turn, 30, and everyone just turned their back on her. And so it has real sympathy for this person who's become kind of a monster in the movie, but that she's allowed to be human too, which is nice.
Totally. It's so nuanced. And I think even though it was a movie that was made in the 50s, it's already making really interesting points about aging and gender. Because in this story, Norma, the older woman, is in love with, or at least infatuated with, Joe, who's narrating the movie, who's this, screenwriter who's really had no success in this town. So he's this scrappy screenwriter, I guess, looking for his big break, but you kind of get the sense that it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's this nice kind of inversion of what we so often see, this trope of older men trying to capture their youth vis-a-vis dating younger women.
Totally.
That makes, when you say that about the Joe thing, because it's how many older men throughout Hollywood history have tried to act 25 by dating a 25-year-old?
Yes, and are not judged for it at all.
Exactly. Unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio, in which case we're judging you.
We're judging you, but we're also kind of weirdly, we've all kind of been like, okay, I guess that's it. Like we have, we're making fun of you, but we've also kind of accepted it.
That is so true. What if, I'm trying to think of what if Parker Posey only exclusively dated 25-year-old men? I wonder how we would receive that.
Honestly, if we can get word to Parker Posey that she should do that just as a bit of art for 3 years, I bet she'd do it.
I agree.
Yeah. She would commit.
That's the scrappy indie bitch in her. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the party girl coming out. No, I still got this in me.
Hello.
Yeah.
So this character is very fascinating because you very much sympathize with her because she does feel like this person who does still have life in her and creativity in her, and that this light and this capacity to create has really been extinguished prematurely because of something that she has no control over.
Yep.
But there's also this kind of crazy power dynamic where she's very delusional. She has written this very long screenplay starring herself as a young 20-something, and there's some things just very beautiful and camp and fun to watch too with this role.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But and she's a silent film star, right? So when the talkies came, that was kind of her death knell, right? But she always says, I have a face. I don't need words. I have a face, and it's the camera's 4 centimeters from Gloria Swanson's face, and she's making these faces and everything.
Yes.
And it's just, listeners, if you haven't seen this movie, go watch tonight. Go watch the movie tonight. It's not to be missed.
No, that's your homework. You've got to watch it. And honestly, you got to know this show too, because to speak to that point of it being, she's a silent film star who now the area of talkies is coming in. She's got this beautiful ballad called "With One Look," where this kind of very prideful movie star is describing the power that she has to kind of move you with just her look, and she doesn't need any kind of a voice. So when Andrew Lloyd Webber decides to make this a play, he opens it in London, right?
Yeah. He opens it in London with Patti LuPone in the lead. Even after the difficult time at Evita, she decides, yes, I will play this role. I will be Norma Desmond. I will probably win more awards. I will get some of the credit that I've been missing. All of this stuff that Patti does. Meanwhile, he also, and in her contract, it says you get the Broadway transfer. When it transfers to Broadway, you go to New York with it. While that's going on, a production is mounted in L.A. starring one Ms. Glenn Close, the Susan Lucci of the Oscars.
I mean... Already, this is Ryan Murphy territory because
absolutely,
Glenn Close, Patti LuPone. I mean, talk about two people just that have the stuff. I mean, Glenn Close.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, Paul, I saw the Glenn Close production when it was in Los
Angeles. Did you? I didn't see it. How was it?
It was incredible.
Okay.
first of all. Second of all, unlike this new revival that they're doing with Nicole Scherzinger, which have you seen that one?
I have seen that one,
Okay,
yes.
is it amazing?
It is amazing. It is full of enormous big directorial swings, which I really appreciate. I don't think they all totally work, but I just enjoyed seeing something where I was like, I actually don't know what's going to happen next year. Like where are we going with this? And it's I think it's very effective and very good. And Nicole Scherzinger, no matter what else is true about her, I don't know, she can sing. The woman can sing.
And sometimes that's all we care about. Let's,
You know what? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Sometimes I'll forgive a lot if you can hold a note for 25 seconds in my face. Okay, fine.
Exactly. But my understanding is that this new production is fairly spare. Is that right?
Very spare. No costumes, no set to speak of. Everyone's in black. There's a lot of video projections in black and white. All the costumes are black and white, so they're really trying to evoke the feel of the film in that way.
Okay, so the 90s production that I saw with Glenn Close could not have been a more polar opposite. It was like this was the
Okay.
90s, and we were still making money on musicals in this country. Like, they had so much fucking money for this production. I was a kid, and I still have such a vivid memory of how ornate these sets were. Like, Norma's
Wow.
house was a full-blown practical Hollywood mansion with, like,
Oh my God.
extensive set dressing, incredible furniture, like gorgeous set.
Okay.
And there's a part in the play where it's on New Year's Eve, and Joe, the character that we were just talking about, he's stuck with Norma she's thrown this like this like sad two-person
Uh-huh.
haunting party for she and Joe to have like on their own. Meanwhile, like a hot party's popping off with all the young people in Hollywood that Joe should be at, but he's not, right? So it's like a split screen thing. So in the play in the 90s, they had this crazy elaborate Norma Desmond house. They lifted that whole set up, so it was the top part of the stage, and then below it is the Hollywood party. So it's like that.
Oh my God.
Yes, Paul, dead ass. During the production I was at, this was really close to when the Northridge earthquake was. There was an aftershock. There was a huge earthquake while this crazy set was like swinging above everybody else. And it was a big
Yeah.
enough earthquake that the whole set was like swinging back and forth. And it was like scary.
Oh my, yeah, it's terrifying.
Glenn Close did not break character.
Wow. Okay. She deserved the Tony. I'll say she deserved the
So,
Tony based on that alone.
Yeah.
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 Oh my, that's terrifying.
Isn't that scary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I've heard tell of the set of the original Sunset Boulevard, but I didn't see it. So I'm not going to top that story. I'll tell you that.
So, to me, that really like places this show in like such a specific moment in history, but also Glenn. Like,
Totally.
honestly, probably one of my most salient associations with Glenn Close is seeing her during the Northridge earthquake aftershock on that fucking set.
Fair enough.
But I didn't realize until you suggested this topic that production was going on concurrently with the London one.
It was, yeah, it was concurrent, and Andrew Lloyd Webber and his team, for whatever reason, decide they want to do Broadway with Glenn Close, not Broadway with Patti LuPone, which, look, she's under contract, and that's going to be a problem, but it's worsened by the fact that they don't tell her that they've decided to go with Glenn Close. She finds out from a Liz Smith column while she's still performing in London.
And is it? I don't know if I think I read that she found out like right before she was supposed to go on stage.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have this quote written down from her memoir. I took batting practice in my dressing room with a floor lamp. I swung at everything in sight. Mirrors, wig stands, makeup, wardrobe, furniture, everything, and then I heaved the lamp out the second floor window.
Like, can you imagine the crew that was inevitably 20 feet away cowering in fear?
In terror of like, she's supposed to be on stage in 5 minutes, and she's Aerosmithing her dressing room. She's gone full 80s hair rocker in her. Did we give her bad coke? What happened? What's going on in the dressing room?
Right? And it's like, and again, I think this is that classic thing of we all in a way, not we all, but like a lot of people stigmatize the idea of a diva. Like they're doing exactly this. They're in their dressing room doing some dramatic bullshit that's probably delaying the show. But like right off the bat, how do we feel about her reaction to this?
I am honestly fine with it because she was look, I haven't acted regularly in a long time. Something on I cannot express to you how much of a smaller scale it was happened to me.
What
and
happened?
like I wanted like I was contracted for something and they just didn't happen for whatever reason. I didn't have a big enough name, whatever. And I would have thrown a lamp out a window when I found out. Like and that was not a Broadway contract.
Right. And also, like, if you guys don't work in theater, like, just to clarify, like, Patti originated this role, and so just to like pull the curtain back a little bit, how you develop a musical, it's this really long, arduous process, right? Like, it's I do stand up, and I was like explaining musicals to my husband the other night. I'm like, it's kind of like comedy in that you don't really know if something's gonna work until you put it up in front of an audience. And so everyone involved in the cast has to learn all this music and work really closely with the director and the musical director and all that. Then you bring in all these investors and other people to come watch it in like some space in Manhattan. They give their notes. Shit, something doesn't work. You've got to go back and like retool. You change this, so that means you got to retool this part of a song. So it's like a really tedious process to develop a show, right?
Absolutely. And I think like every time I think about her hurling that lamp out the window, I just like it just like sings in my soul. Like, what if we got a sequel to like Liza Minnelli tries to turn on a lamp from SNL, but it's like Patti LuPone throws a lamp out a window with Kristen Wiig as Patti LuPone? I would love it. Kristen Wiig, that's a free idea.
Please.
If you do it, I won't even claim credit.
Somebody listening to this show writes for SNL. Like, make it happen.
Come on.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
That's free.
And yeah, like, it's Patti. You know, I thought this, like, no disrespect at all to Ariana Grande for what she did in Wicked. Like, I thought she was incredible. But, like, as someone who knows the original, Kristen Chenoweth originated that role. And, like, you see Ari doing Kristen Chenoweth if you're familiar with the Kristen Chenoweth version.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's because of what you were just saying, where, like, Kristen Chenoweth developed that she made that role what it was through her work in developing Wicked.
Yeah.
So almost everyone that does Glinda is doing Kristen Chenoweth on a certain level. It's almost inescapable.
Exactly. And so I think we can safely assume it was kind of the same with Patti, right? Like this role was kind of crafted around her.
Yeah. And if you're going to pick a Broadway musical star to do Norma Desmond, it's Patti LuPone.
Please.
Like, immediately.
Please. and it's and not for nothing. Who's on the original Broadway cast recording of Sunset Boulevard?
Glenn Close.
Patti.
She is?
Yes. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. So she's I fully support her throwing things out the window and terrifying a few crew members. This is bullshit. Andrew Lloyd Webber is, in the course of like doing research for this, like I found out more about him and I was like, oh, he does kind of suck. Like, I don't think all of his musical output doesn't suck. I've enjoyed Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. Yeah. But he as a person seems to kind of suck.
Really? Like, what's some tea?
Well, like, he, for years, was a conservative member of, like, the House of Lords in Britain, so voting that way all the time. But then he did this almost the exact same thing again they did to Patti LuPone in, he did an adaptation of Cinderella on the West End, like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And there was a whole new cast that was ready. They were going in, they were doing rehearsals, and then the current cast and the replacement cast found out that the show was closing in a newspaper article. He didn't tell them that they were out of a job. He didn't tell them anything. They just found out in a newspaper, you have no job anymore. And it's like, do you not understand the situation that the people that you are employing are in? Like, you seem to have no perception of the real world, because he became a famous composer when I think he was 20 or 22 or something when Jesus Christ Superstar came out. So, like, I think he maybe has lost touch with the little people a little bit, seems like.
I guess so, yeah. And, yeah, you're right, because he's one of the few people that has become, like, uber wealthy off of musical theater and at a young age. And yet you would think if you came out of theater, you would understand, like, how hard it is to come by these jobs. and like what a
Yes.
tenuous thread performers are always living on.
Yes, and if you think you have a job, you've stopped looking for another job. So opportunities have passed that you could have gotten. And but this is all to say we should have listened to Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny years ago. Fran Drescher was trying to tell us Andrew Lloyd Webber not to be trusted.
See,
Yeah, Fran knew.
it everything comes back to Fran new.
A little bit. Fran knew is a T-shirt I would buy with a picture of Fran Fine on it. Fran knew.
Exactly. So, okay, so Patty finds out that she's getting fired. Do we know like what happens immediately like after that? Like does she stay
I
in the
know
London?
she has. She stayed in London. I think she had another month or two on the contract, and I know she has said, I'm not going to get this quote exactly right, but something to the effect of like, I got a couple of notices that said I wasn't crazy enough in the production. They should have seen me that last month. It's like, fuck it, I'm going ape shit on this musical, which I really wish I had seen it in that month. If I had seen it the day she found out, can you imagine that performance? She would have been the Northridge earthquake.
Full stop. Full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I am so jealous of every single person that got to see each of those performances because
Yes.
it kind of reminds me of how Beyonce says she loves when someone pisses her off before she goes on stage.
Oh, I haven't even heard that, but that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
it's like, listen, but also I think what's going on here is like, I do think Patty is the perfect person for this role. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because I first saw it with Glenn Close, but I also think Glenn Close is a perfect Norma Desmond.
I absolutely. I look, Glenn Close, I've never seen her give a bad performance. I've seen her in good movies, I've seen her in mediocre movies. She never is anything less than fantastic. My co-host Erica saw it with Glenn Close twice actually. She saw it in the 90s and then she saw it again when they did like that limited run revival of it, like it maybe 10 years ago, and she saw it then and she was incredible, perfect, unimpeachable as far as acting the role goes.
And so that's another thing that I think is very sort of like tale as old as time about this story is we're pitting two very talented women against each other and creating scarcity where there really didn't need to be any. Like, why does
Yeah.
this need to be Patty versus Glenn Close? Like, they're both fucking amazing. And I think that's kind of what
Exactly.
it became.
Yeah, because they're the two faces of it, right? And this is cutting way ahead in the timeline, but I think like literally like 10 years ago was the first time they'd seen each other.
Oh.
And Glenn Close, Patti LuPone told the story, said we were at this table at some gala or something, and Glenn Close sits down, and the first thing she says is, I had nothing to do with it.
Oh.
I didn't campaign for it. And Patty then said, like, it's incredible, like, what you build up in your head, and all we needed to do was, like, actually have our representative say, hey, Glenn Close wants to talk to you. And,
Right.
like, and she's like, and I was able to immediately let it go. Like, I believed her. It wasn't ever about her and me. You know, it was about, as she calls him, a vain, narcissistic man, insecure man, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Which, I don't know that she's wrong.
No, I don't know that she's wrong. It could be pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Seems like. So after Patty closes, she decides she's not taking this lying down.
Okay.
And she skedaddles over to her lawyer's office, and she decides she's going to sue Andrew Lloyd Webber for the sum. And one of the things I think about so much when I think about this story is how was this sum decided upon? But it was $1 million. And it is my dream that it was somehow said in a Dr. Evil voice when she announced to her lawyer that it was $1 million that she was seeking. Because, look, I'm sure Patti LuPone makes a lot more on Broadway than your average Broadway performer.
Right.
But I don't think she was out $1 million for performing.
That's a really good point. Like, I have friends who perform on Broadway and they're still bartending. Maybe they're not,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
to your point, they're not Patti LuPone, but yeah.
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 Yeah, you could, yes. Or even if you're not, as soon as the show closes, I got to go wait some tables because the paycheck's dried up until I have another thing going.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's damage to my career, my reputation, all of that stuff that was, but I'm dying to know how $1 million was decided upon.
And so do we know if this was in the UK or the US that the lawsuit happened?
I believe it was the U.S.
Okay.
I believe. Because technically he didn't do anything wrong in the UK, right? He did something wrong in the US. The breach of contract was for the Broadway production.
Right.
So I think it was the US.
Okay, so she sues for $1
Yeah.
million, and then what happens?
She wins. She wins $1 million from Andrew Lloyd Webber. And Tess, she takes the $1 million and she decides she's going to install a pool in her house. And she names it the Andrew Lloyd Webber Memorial Pool.
I mean, she must be protected at all costs.
At all costs. Like, if listeners, if you haven't seen Sunset Boulevard in the movie, a pool features very heavily. The opening scene of it is a dead body floating in a pool. And if she has a floaty, like a personal floaty of a man face down in the pool that just floats there, and she goes out with like a whiskey on a summer evening and she says, "Hi, Andy." And she sips her whiskey. Like, if I was a Make-A-Wish kid, my wish would be, can I go just dip my toes in the Andrew Lloyd Webber Memorial Pool at Patti LuPone's house?
Memorial pool for a man who is very much still alive.
Still alive, still putting out work.
And yeah.
Still a cultural force.
Oh. What? You need that water because that is such a sick burn. That is.
Yeah. You need some aloe. You need some.
You better be on WebMD with the yogurt and all the other home remedies because everything. You have been incinerated by Ms. LuPone.
Yeah, indeed. And, thoughts and prayers, frankly.
Honestly. And yeah, I think, Paul, we can spoil Sunset Boulevard because it has been out for 75 years.
Yeah.
So you find out the beginning, there's a dead guy floating in a pool. You find out that the whole story is being narrated by said dead guy, who is Joe.
Yes.
And the reason he's dead in the pool is because Norma Desmond has shot and killed him.
That's right. Yep. So Norma Desmond shot and killed. Maybe Andrew Lloyd Webber a little bit. And this story, it's like a place I go to when I'm feeling low.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a creative, you're constantly just like trying to climb up the hill. You're trying to get to the next level. You're trying to do all this stuff. And all of us at some point feel like, oh, what's the point? I'm not getting anywhere. I'm banging my head against a brick wall, right? And then I will just think about the Andrew Lloyd Webber Memorial Pool. and like the magic carpet in Aladdin, I will be lifted up. Be like, keep going, keep trying.
You're right. Like, we shouldn't even, I think it's a better goal to have an Andrew Lloyd Webber Memorial Pool than to play Norma Desmond.
100%. 100%. Like, a pool to someone who wronged you. And like, the facts of the case are that Andrew Lloyd Webber wronged Patti LuPone. That is indisputable. Like, that's just true. And you can not like Patti LuPone. You can think she's overrated. You can, don't come talking to me if you think that. No. That's your right to think it.
Yes.
But she got screwed in that case, and she got hers back, and it's delicious. It is a Godiva chocolate.
And I guess I didn't realize, though, like, how much this actually did fuck with her, though, too. Like, after she got fired, I guess she, like, didn't work for, like, a year. I read one article where she was, like, feeding her chickens in Connecticut for, like, a year, which is in and of itself an unhinged and very fun visual.
Patti LuPone having chickens, I'd be worried for the chickens on the day that she was going to be, like, metaphorically throwing the lamp out the window again. They'd be like, protect Henrietta.
Yes.
Protect Chickadee. Like, just keep them safe. Keep them in the coop. No, I think she said that she thought she got blacklisted from Hollywood because, difficult to work with, all the usual playbook. Because she spoke up and spoke out and didn't take it lying down, kind of. And also won, which is even scarier to a producer, right? Like, not only did she not take it lying down, she won.
Totally. And, like, I think this just does speak to, like, this very classic kind of brand of misogyny, where it's like, you can't be a strong woman who stands up for herself. I mean, yeah, the lore that comes out of this is like, Patti LuPone is so extra. Patti LuPone is such a diva. It's like, no, Andrew Lloyd Webber breached his fucking contract with her. And, like, again, to my knowledge, isn't it kind of unusual to open a show in two places at once? Like, don't you usually try it out in one city at a time?
Yeah, that sounds very odd to me as well. Like if it had been on tour, like it was an out of town tryout and it was going from the West End and then to California and then to Broadway because they were going to revamp it or something, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But to have it open in the West End and then have it open in LA and not open in New York yet, when you know it's going to open in New York because it's an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical ostensibly starring Patti LuPone, and it got good notices on the West End, so it wasn't like a flop or anything.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to know what the negotiations for that were, because that does feel odd to me.
Like, to me, that feels like a potentially premeditated move on Andrew Lloyd Webber and the producer's parts.
Totally, I believe it. Because why are you doing this? I wonder if Patti LuPone had any scent of it. Like, why are they opening something in Los Angeles? What's going on? You know?
Right. And I think there's like a valid point to be made. I mean, when I think of these two actresses, the thing that Glenn Close brings to it that Patti doesn't is, not that Glenn Close hasn't done a ton of theater, but I do think of her more as a film star.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the role of a film star who's aged out of relevancy at the age of 40 or whatever, then I guess
Right.
you are bringing something
As they should.
As they fucking.
To be clear.
Oh my God, get thee to a actress-y. Yeah.
Yeah, I see enough crow's feet when I look into the mirror. I don't need to see them up on screen. Okay, let's move it on.
Gross.
Come on.
Yeah.
Get on the iceberg. Come on.
So, like, maybe that was a valid choice to try out Glenn Close, but, like, why have that contract with Patti? Why promise her the Broadway role if that was your plan all along?
Yeah, and since they had that Evita start, you know the personalities at play, which makes me think he wanted her to open it to get the name on it, and then didn't want to deal with her anymore. That is what it, from an outside view with no actual knowledge of the situation, that's what it smells like.
Agree completely.
Yeah.
And okay, so and Glenn Close, you said Glenn Close and Patti, they don't meet until, like, would you say 8 years ago?
Yeah, like literally like 8 or 10 years ago. It was very, very recently that they actually came together and saw each other. And I mean, I understand Glenn Close's position on this, because if you are an innocent bystander, which I believe she would be, I can't think of a performer who would knowingly actually do something like that, like really campaign, particularly someone of Glenn Close's stature. Like, you maybe believe it more if it was like the understudy for Patti LuPone who wanted to kind of have her own name made, but Glenn Close didn't need that, right? And I can't imagine her wasting her time campaigning for it. And the way that I'm sure she got some kind of blowback in the industry of, like, you took this, you were instrumental in taking this performer's part or something like that. You said, because people want the women to be fighting, right? They want the girls fighting all the time.
Exactly. And I hate how readily we all lap it up. And I really doubt that Glenn Close even knew that was, like, the agreement that they had with Patti LuPone. I have a hard time believing that she would even sign on to something like this if she had known that she was going to be angering Patti LaFucking-Pone.
Right, yeah. Let me tell you something. I'd have to have a lot of protection in place before they were like, okay, now we want you to go piss off Patti LuPone. Like, absolutely not. That woman is 75 and she will take me in 4 seconds.
Yes. You and I both felt it in the flesh in the first and second rows of whatever theater company was in. I mean, should we talk a little bit about Patti LuPone's public history of being angry at audience members?
Oh, I mean, my favorite one of this was, I don't remember what the play was. She was in, I think it was off-Broadway play. So it was a pretty small house. And the way the theater was set up is there was entrances and exits through the aisles of where the audience was. And apparently at one point she just walked past an audience member and took their phone and took it backstage and gave it to, like, the backstage crew. Like, you can give that back to them after the show. And people were asking her about it, and she was like, well, it's rude. Like, we are up here sweating blood to try to, like, create something for you. 99% of the audience is, like, giving us their attention, or at least pretending to give us their attention as we're trying to do this. Yeah. And you're sitting there on your phone.
Yeah. Like, these tickets are expensive. It's so inconsiderate to everyone else around you, and you're stealing intellectual property if you're recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
you can listen to her scream at an audience member in the middle of Rose's turn in Gypsy.
That's my favorite, I think, because,
well,
Gypsy is one of my favorite shows.
Oh, if you can get to New York to see Audra.
Really?
Just, I I don't say this lightly. I genuinely think it's one of the greatest musical theater performances I've ever seen in my entire life.
You're giving me chills. I'm gonna do it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I have considered like literally just like going for a night to see it.
Yeah.
Uh,
She's so, the acting, you hear lines in it that I've never heard before, and I've seen Gypsy 7 times or something like that, and things are popping that I've never heard.
So for those of you guys who are not familiar with Gypsy, it's ostensibly about this famous burlesque dancer named Gypsy Rose Lee, but really it's about her mother who got her into this role in the first place and her unrealized dreams. And the 11 o'clock number is the song Rose's Turn, where Rose, the protagonist, played by Audra McDonald in this new revival and played by Patti in this famous audio leak, it's Shakespeare. It's like she's losing her mind.
Yeah.
She's at the peak of her life. I mean, it's this crazy, raw, big, giant, emotional song that like you kind of like can barely sit down while you're watching someone sing it.
Yeah. Yep. It is overwhelming. It's called the King Lear of musical theater, the role.
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, it's that complex. It's that nuanced. And I can't even imagine being an actress singing this song. So Patty's singing the song, and while she's singing it, like in character, in the music, she starts tearing someone a new asshole for having... I'm actually... I'm a little scared. I kind of want to play it, but I'm scared. Anyway, I'll drop it in here. The her choice of it. But yeah, it's just... these kind of things make me understand S&M, because like I would get off on getting abused by Patti LuPone.
Right? Like, because I've talked about this before, and I'm like, if I met Patti LuPone, I genuinely believe if you are a polite person, Patti LuPone would be a perfectly polite person back to you. Mm-hmm. But I almost want her to yell at me.
Yes.
I almost want her to tell me to fuck off. Just to have that experience, to have that spice in my life, to feel like I danced with the devil, right? Like,
right. Yeah. It's kind of like how I want to go great white shark diving. Like, I just want to feel that fear.
Yes. Like, and look, I'm not a risk taker. Like, I don't like roller coasters. I don't like it. Like, Patti LuPone is the highest level of risk I want to undertake in my life, but it feels very high.
Yes. And again, like this news story kind of popped off. Like, can you believe Patti LuPone started like singing that she was pissed to this person with her phone? And it's like, yeah, because she's right. Like, it's like, again, I'm sure every other equity member in that production wishes that they could have reached out and grabbed that phone, but they don't have the power of Patti LuPone. They don't have the stature of Patti LuPone to pull this kind of shit.
Exactly. And she uses her power for good, as far as I can tell. I don't hear stories about her terrorizing the cast backstage. I hear stories about her keeping the audience in line, which I kind of appreciate.
Right. I mean, she rightfully understands that we are lucky to be in her presence and should act accordingly.
Exactly. And actually, that just reminded me of, this is a little off topic, if you'll
Please.
Forgive me. If I say the phrase love cycle, a soap operetta, does that mean anything to you?
It doesn't, but please explain.
Okay, so there is this YouTube video. It features Patti LuPone. It is a failed pilot from, like, I'm going to guess 1983 or something like that for PBS. It is a half-an-hour musical. And it is about, Patti LuPone is the lead. She is a woman who was left by her husband, who then dies in an exploding dryer accident in a laundromat.
Whoa.
She haunts the laundromat, waiting for her husband to return. And when she knows he's coming, she emerges as a ghost, as an angry ghost, to be clear. A ghost that screams, revenge! It is full of 80s special effects. She has that, like, 80s chopped mullet.
Yes.
That is just incredible. And here's the real twist. The songs aren't terrible.
Okay.
Like, they're not amazing, but they're not terrible. It's 30 minutes of your life that you're really going to be happy you spent.
Sold.
On YouTube.
Sold.
Yeah.
And, I love when any kind of a Broadway actor gets mixed up like into kind of a pilot situation, but the idea of seeing Patti LuPone in a failed shit show of a pilot and just knowing that just the Patti LuPone-ness of it is going to make it compelling, like, completely tracks.
Yes, absolutely. And there's great, it's because Priscilla Lopez from A Chorus Line is also in it,
Ooh.
and Lonnie Price. So like there's good people in it. The concept of a ghost haunting a dryer is so insane. And to be the writers know it's insane. Like they're kind of going for it, but I don't think they're going for it hard enough. So there's like moments they're trying to get real pathos out of it, and I'm like, but she's haunting a dryer. Like I can't
Right.
quite get past that.
So how does she come out of the dryer?
So there's a there's like a dryer broken sign on it.
Okay.
And Lonnie Price is like, oh, this dryer's open, and everyone in the laundry room is like, no, you can't use that dryer because else the ghost will come out. And he's like, that's ridiculous. And he puts it on, and she kind of like appears in that 80s way in the dryer. That boom, and she like walks out in like all white with like white pancake makeup on, her red mullet. It's just, it's a delight from start to finish.
Oh, high camp. Okay, I've got to watch this.
Yeah.
You guys, not only am I going to watch it, but I'm going to link to it in the show notes so that you can enjoy it
Please. Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
God, Patti. And didn't she, so her and Andrew Lloyd Webber, they ultimately did like make up, right?
They did. So she performed "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" at a Grammys Awards. I want to say 10 years ago,
Okay.
something like that. And she announced that there was a détente. But then when this Sunset Boulevard revival happened, she still, I think, called him a narcissistic, insecure man who could. That I think she said the score for Evita could only be written by a man who hates women. So. So I don't know how far the bridge has spanned over it, or if Patti just knows how to keep the news cycle going, which props to her, because I will eat every bit up with a spoon.
Yeah. I think we'll take either version. Okay. First of all, the idea that she's like, the score can only be written by someone who hates women, when like, honey, it's been 40 years and we all still agree, like, you ate that score. Like, there's no notes. Like, you fucking ate. Like, that is your part. Like,
you won the Tony.
Yeah.
And she's like, the score sucks. I love her.
I know, me too. And also,
to have the chutzpah to bite the hand that feeds me that much and not give a shit.
Exactly. And I'm also like, I feel like what this really was about had nothing to do with the detente with Andrew Lloyd Webber and everything to do with wanting to be seen publicly singing "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina."
Yeah, that tracks. That makes a lot of sense. Be like, no, people really want to watch me sing this song, so I'll give it to them. So I'll make nice with Andy Lloyd for one night.
Yeah.
And one night only. And then it's back to the pool.
And like, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Andrew Lloyd Webber do fuck all worth talking about after Sunset Boulevard? Like,
Not really. I saw he did School of Rock, the School of Rock musical, which I saw with some of my nephews, which was a hit, not like a huge hit.
That's right.
And it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. But he has not had a huge hit since, well, because like that era of the mega musical is kind of gone. Like they're not really like no one's putting a freaking helicopter on stage anymore, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, we're in like this weird space on Broadway right now where you're either getting these amazing like really glitzy kind of old school throwback musicals like Death Becomes Her and Boop and all of that, or you're getting these really interesting like tiny little chamber musicals like Kimberly Akimbo or Dead Outlaw or maybe Happy Ending, but that enormous thing where they're dumping like the GDP of a small nation into putting this musical up is kind of gone, which I think might be good overall. No.
I guess, but you're right. And I think you're right. I think a part of it is too, like, the market has become a lot less open to risk, because it is like you have to dump a ton of money into a show to even see if it works. And so I do think that now they're like, okay, we'll just do Lion King or Legally Blonde or whatever. Like it exists, things that we know there's already like an existing market for. Like, we're not going to do a 1950s Billy Wilder movie. Like, it's yeah. But also now I'm thinking, because I remember now that when the Sunset Boulevard thing happened, Patti was like, I think she told the reporter, like, maybe this is a sign. Like, maybe I should stop doing musicals. Yeah. And that reminded me of the thing that happened a couple years ago where completely unrelated to Patti, the musical Hadestown was on Broadway, which I love that show.
I love that show.
But a performer in Hadestown, somebody who's hearing impaired was using an assisted listening device in the audience,
Mm-hmm.
and a performer in Hadestown mistakenly thought that person was on their phone and chastised them for it. And so in the the chatter online post that happening, people were evoking, of course, Patty's name because she's the queen
Right.
of calling people out for being on their phone. And Patty's reaction to that was, "I'm giving back my equity card."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I'm giving back my equity card, and then immediately performing on Broadway next season with Mia Farrow.
Yeah.
Like, immediately. I'm like, non-equity performers on Broadway is new, Patty. I don't know. Like, I think you may have had to re-up the membership before you were able to do that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, she says she's done with musicals every few years, which, look, I understand. She talks about her voice, which it's incredibly difficult to keep your voice healthy. And she is 75. She's not a spring chicken anymore. But, like, listening to her sing, I think maybe Company was great because she basically has to sing one song. So,
Yeah.
like, it's... The ask is less on her body and everything.
Vocally. I mean, I think, and she has done a lot of Sondheim stuff, and, like, I think one thing that's, like, so compelling about Sondheim's music is, like, talk about Fuck the Note and talk about the song Ladies Who Lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a song that, like, should be kind of unpleasant to listen to. Like, it's...
A little bit, yeah.
Like, it's a raging alcoholic feigning pride for a group of people and acting like she's better than this group of people that is always going to reject her, and it's like this anger that's actually about pathos and hurt, and it's just this like messy drunk. It's like if a song was what the last 3 hits of a drunken cigarette sound like.
Yeah. Tess, that may have been the best boiling down of the Ladies Who Lunch that I've ever heard. Honestly, congratulations. Like, that was so accurate. That entire thing.
Thank you.
But you're right. Like, you don't write a song for Elaine Stritch and expect it to be a lullaby. Like, you don't write a soothing note.
Right. And I kind of love that Patti has, like, seen that like Sondheim is, like, a good place for her to land. I mean, she also, like, there's just so few people that have the acting chops and the vocal chops to do Sondheim in the way that she can. But I think, I saw Bernadette Peters and Lea Salonga were in this, like, I'll fucking see anything Stephen Sondheim, right? Like,
oh, sure.
So they did, like,
Old Friends, right?
Old Friends, yeah. And the reviewer in LA was talking about Bernadette Peters' voice and, like, oh, I think she had a cold. And it's like, no, that's just how Bernadette Peters sounds. And, like, her voice works so well. And, like, also Bernadette Peters is in her 70s. But, like, her voice works so well with Sondheim's music because I'm not trying to have this, like, polished Andrew Lloyd Webber experience when I go to a Sondheim show. Like, I want to have my heart broken, you know?
Absolutely. And he will talk about Sondheim. We're going all over musicals today.
I know.
I hope the listeners are in for
you guys, this is a really musical
corner.
episode. I enjoy it. Yeah.
I love musicals. But Sondheim will talk about the acting of a song. Like, Send in the Clowns was written for Glynis Johns, and he wrote that song, and that song is a very easy song to sing. And he wrote it for her because he's like, she doesn't have a big range. And she can't really hold notes for very long. She's not a superb singer, but she can act, and she acts the hell out of it, and that's what's important to me as a composer. I want to see my song make people feel something.
Right.
I don't care if you can hold the note for so long. It's not a big deal.
Well, and that's why, to me, this is getting really deep, nerdy musical theater, and you guys are welcome, TBH. But
yeah, you're welcome for the education.
Fucking welcome for the free education. The Send in the Clowns, like the Sinatra version, does nothing for me, honestly, because to me that song has to be sung by an older woman because older women are rejected by our society. It's kind of what we're talking about here with Norma Desmond and Patti LuPone and all of this stuff, actually. But they're rejected and cast asunder in a way that gives that song context in a way that even an older man, I think, kind of can't. Yeah. And I think Sondheim places that song in a way that, like, it's supposed to sound, like, strained. And, like, it's supposed to sound like someone can barely get through it. Like, it doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
When someone can really land it. I mean, not land it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's fragile. It should be a fragile little glass figurine that you're afraid is going to drop off the end table and shatter.
Yes.
That's that song.
Yes.
So, okay. So since we're describing Sondheim songs as objects. Ladies Who Lunch is the last 3 pulls of a drunk cigarette. And Send in the Clouds is a little glass figurine that's going to fall off the end table and shatter. I think we are nailing this, Tess, I gotta say.
Yes, it's exactly. And that little glass figurine like was the most beautiful thing in your house for so long, and now it's nothing to you, and it's about to just fall into oblivion.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll never get it back.
Oh my God. Paul, this has been so much fun. I
had a blast.
Can you tell everyone where they can find your podcast, and if you have anything else that you want to promote?
Absolutely. So I do a podcast called That Aged Well, dropping every Monday wherever you get your podcasts. On it, me and my dear old college friend, Erica, old applying to both of us, not just to Erica. We are the same age. She would actually want me to point out that I am technically 5 weeks older than her.
Okay.
So, just to be clear. We go through all the movies from mostly from the 80s and 90s, but sometimes we'll do older films or slightly newer films. And we just talk about how they've aged. So, how racist are they? How sexist are they? How homophobic are they? But with a lot of dick jokes, and we don't usually love the movies, but we will love the movies we love, even if they are racist and homophobic and sexist. So
it's a really
fun podcast. We
don't
want
to
make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Well, on that tip, has there been a movie that surprised you, either for the best or for the worst, when you watched it?
You know what movie shocked me for the worst? The Birdcage.
Really?
The Birdcage is about a Republican senator who dies suddenly because after sex with an underage black sex worker, and his partner trying to escape from the press, to escape the response, the public response to it, fleeing. Meanwhile, the straight son of a gay couple who raised him from birth has decided to become engaged to a 19-year-old.
What? She's 19?
Who happens to be the daughter of that senator that's fleeing. And that straight son, and I don't say this lightly, is the biggest villain that has ever been portrayed in cinema, because his entire character is, you've raised me from a child, you have loved me, and you are embarrassing. And if you could just stop for 5 minutes so I can marry this 19-year-old and not be humiliating to me, that would be great.
Whoa! Wow, you're blowing my mind, because my only main memories of that movie are just Robin Williams and Nathan Lane being hilarious.
And they are. They're it's hilarious, and they're wonderful in it. And Robin Williams, even more than Nathan Lane, gives the role an enormous amount of dignity. And Nathan Lane does too. I shouldn't even say even more than they give the roles dignity that the script is kind of trying to pull away from them. It's as they're accommodating this asshole son of theirs that's it's not the actor's fault. It's the way the role is written. If they were to rewrite it now, they would figure out a way around this. It's wild to watch it.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear, because I think a lot of millennials we think of The Birdcage as kind of a progressive movie, because it was oh, the leads are gay.
Yeah, and the thing was, when we were in 1996, whenever it came out, it was super progressive. I didn't as I wasn't out then, but as a young gay kid watching it, I was just nose to the screen, oh my God, this is the dream, right?
Right.
Watching it when I was 40 something, I was wait a minute.
Shit. Not even The Birdcage, you guys.
Not even The Birdcage. Sad.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been so fun, Tess. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. If you don't mind hanging out while your stuff uploads.